Hello and welcome back. I'm actually in Cowstock at the moment and I'm taking Bracken for a little walk along the old towpath, and it's right on the River Tamar. I'll let you have a look, and this is what basically separates Cornwall from Devon, Devon being in England, and obviously Cornwall on the opposite side, Celtic country of Cornwall. And yeah, this is what separates us, and essentially gives us our little sense of, I don't know, independent identity. So this is the Tamar, and over there in those woods, that's Devon, as I've just discussed or alluded to. And obviously you can see the river's running in a fair flow there. There's been a lot of rain just recently, and I'm possibly guessing the tide is going out, so that's also helping with the flow. But this here is an old towpath, and obviously it aids with flood prevention. This here being low-lying marsh. But yeah, I'm going for a little walk along this with Bracken at the moment. Cowstock's a pleasant little riverside village. It does have an industrial past. Obviously the Tamar here flows down to Salt Ash. Ultimately from there through to Plymouth, and from there out to the Sound, past the breakwater, and you can enter the English Channel from there and either go up towards Germany or down towards France, Bay of Biscay, and out to the Atlantic. So, you know, the Tamar does have a big significance militarily for Great Britain, and indeed for commerce. So, you know, all along the Tamar you could find evidence of industrial workings, and the mines around here did rely on the Tamar to take away a lot of its you know, produce. So yeah, it has a big industrial heritage, this part of the Tamar, and indeed Cowstock. The actual high tides here, and coupled with the fast flowing river, has actually took away a lot of the reeds here, or destroyed them. They will grow back, they do come back of their own accord, but that just shows you how much water can actually come up here. And I'm guessing if it wasn't for this flood defence bank here, all this would be flooded up to pretty much where it starts to rise up, where those houses are. So this is almost like reclaimed land here, you know, which you know, just goes to show how much land man can reclaim with schemes like this. So there you go, all the warnings necessary for kind of wetlands and things like that. And obviously this floods out through channels from the main river. But yeah, it does actually say quicksand, deep mud and silt, and you've only got to look at it and you can realise that would be the case. That old structure over there, or bridge, is still used, and you will actually see trains going over it. And it's a marvel of engineering that stood the test of time. Now this is a very pleasant little walk from the actual village. You can walk along this well, track, and you can meet up with other footpaths, bridleways, and indeed roads, or lanes shall I say, to make circulars, and there's a variety of ones you could make yourself. Now you will encounter a lot of other people. I've just met somebody I know on this walk myself. I mean, it's very popular because it's just very scenic. It's a very scenic place to actually come for a walk, and indeed a lot of dog walkers will be here. So it's not a place you're going to escape people and get it to yourself, but You kind of expect that when you come to somewhere like this, but nevertheless I'm enjoying this. It's fresh air and it's a change in scenery for me. Like I said, it's mostly rural countryside and smattered with a little bit of coastal walking or stuff like that, or my surfing. So it is nice to mix it up with something different. Coming up onto a bridge over an entrance, or a water entrance, into the actual marshy area, and I guess they have to do that to allow it to, well, basically flood out so that all the wildlife can actually get all the nutrients it would have before all this embankment was built. There's some ducks there being swept into the actual marsh, but yeah, there's a lot of water moving, which isn't surprising really, because we've had 2 or 3 days of near gale conditions with winds and rain, sideways rain really, and that's on the back of a couple of weeks of some really cold, frosty and snowy weather. So, you know, it's not surprising we do have this amount of water actually in the river. Now, I did actually come down this river on a raft many years ago, and it was part of a raft race for charity, I think it was. It's so long ago I can't remember, but I signed up with a team at a factory I worked with. A raft was constructed and we launched, I think it was from Moorlam Quay, which is further up the river. I think that's correct, but in any case, Cowstock was the end destination, and yes, it was very enjoyable. I can remember that, and it was a lot of fun, but a lot of hard work as well, because homemade rafts aren't the most hydrodynamic of construction, so there's a lot of paddling, and I don't remember the water moving this fast when we did it, but it would have been summertime. Somebody looks to have got their very own like miniature boathouse with a ladder down to a floating little pontoon, and I should imagine in the summer they would have an absolute glorious time there. But it does look like it's private. Well, it would be private on that bank, but yeah, some people really do live their life. The going is very flat, it's very good, and it's well maintained, and most people would have no problems negotiating this. And like I said, it's not taxing because obviously it's flat. So far I've yet to I'm yet to think about where I'm going from here. I'm going to continue along the bridleway, which will be up there. But if you wanted to go back to Cowstock, you would just go down this lane, and in about half a mile you'd be in the village. But let's make our way up here. So I'm in a wildlife reserve now, and there's a track going up through. It is uphill now, not overly steep, and the track is gravel, so it's, you know, reasonably easy going. You may find it a bit difficult if you've got any you know, illnesses or impediments, but you know, other than that, it's pretty doable so far. But yeah, it's very pleasant. We have the river down there. We're beginning to climb up the actual banks, and yeah, we're surrounded by beech trees and native forest. There's no actual commercial logging. Like I said, this is all native here now, and it's going to make for a very pleasant walk. And what looks to be an entrance there. And that goes into what I think is, looks like drainage, water runoff. but it's very well signposted, and Oak Hill Tor Mine. So we'll have a little look at that. It says no vehicles, and we'll have a little look at this, obviously down this track here. So Oak Hill Tor Mine was actually mined for silver, lead and copper, and that's a picture of what it would have looked like back in the day. You can see the woods have actually grown up around it, and there's a time frame there. This is a very good information board, and now it's only reserved for like wildlife, bats, badgers, woodpeckers and things like that. But yeah, we're going to continue down here and make our way to the actual mine. If you was to slip here, it would be just a one-way ticket right the way down to the waterfront there. And it would be a lot faster than scrabbling down there, I can guarantee you. Getting up would be a pretty hard task with all those wet leaves. But yeah, we're going to make our way along here. Now this is a very pleasant little walk along this trail. But the thing was, there obviously wouldn't have been as many trees as this back in the day it was being mined. And you can see that by the photograph that I just showed you. That was on the information board. And a lot of places I frequent are like ancient mining, you know, places that have been mined. Quite often they didn't look like they do now. And people forget that. They just think that they would have had all those trees. These are basically abandoned industrial sites, really. That's been basically allowed to go back to the wild. There's a private little boathouse down there as well, and it's got a canoe on the decking. Looks like there's a lot of leaves and, you know, windfall debris scattered around. But I should imagine during the summer that'll be extremely pleasant sitting there with a glass of wine or cider, just watching the river go by. Through those trees, you can just about make out another mining chimney stack there. Now, I'm hoping to get a better view of that, but this whole area was of an industrial nature. Like I said, the Tamer was basically, you know, used for commerce. So it would have been a very dirty and, you know, very contaminated place to actually be back 200 years ago. So as you can see, this is part of the mining structure and buildings that supported the operation. You can see there is actually it's been caged off there in that arch, so I should imagine that there would possibly be a way down into the mine shaft that way, but obviously you wouldn't even attempt it or think about it, because it would be pretty much you know, suicidal to do so. You know, you wouldn't even consider it. But yeah, these places you still have to be very careful, because, you know, they do contain a lot of dangers. Look, it actually does look like we're going to come to a clearing. There's another information board here, and we're going to get some really good views. There's a seat there. Oh, this is outstanding. Look back down the river, across there, and there's that old stack. And you can see one just basically sticking out through the tree line over there, and it looks pretty precarious. It looks like it's about to topple over, but this is the actual mine workings itself. You can see another chimney stack just coming up through the top of the trees, an engine house there, and like I said, all these supporting buildings here. There, you can just see that chimney over there, and it really is at a precarious angle. That possibly doesn't have much longer left in it. It's looking like it's about ready to topple over. The one across the other side of the river on the opposite bank, you can see the top of it is crumbled away, and Yeah, I should imagine, you know, under high winds you wouldn't want to be standing under that due to masonry falling. And this information board gives you some more photos of what this area would have looked like, and indeed some of the people who would have worked it. And it's always nice to have these information boards because they do provide you with a lot of information. But I'm just going to have a little wander around here, then it'll be time to make our way back to Cowstock. And we're coming up underneath the engine house now. The path does continue along here. Like I said, you could make up some of your own circulars, but for me, I do not have the time today. And that is an impressive structure there. It's not wise, like I said, and you should never just go willy-nilly investigating buildings like this because they're dangerous. It is an old mine shaft, and you know, obviously you could fall to your death, and you never know if anything could open up. And there's lots of you know, examples of mine shafts opening up, you know, on their own accord in Cornwall. And that happens on a regular basis, actually, in people's back gardens and things like that as well. Just a big sinkhole will open up as a mine shaft, you know, makes itself known. Another building there being swallowed by the trees. And obviously there's a path along there, but we don't have the time to go along there today. So for me and Bracken, we're just going to follow this short path back to that basic junction where the sign was for the bridleway, which is here. And we'll make our way back into Cowstock, the actual little village. And I'm quite interested to see where it comes out in the village, to be honest with you, because as I stated, I've not done this particular little walk before. But there are plenty of other loops, like I keep saying, you could make. But for me, time is of the essence, so basically I'm doing a very short one. And it's been extremely enjoyable, and it's always nice doing somewhere you haven't done before. Now this little woodland part here we've just walked through has been absolutely enchanting, and it's kind of made the walk out to the old mine shaft. You know, particularly when you realise how barren the landscape would have been at the time to what it is now. This just adds that little bit of charm to the actual walk, because you realise this is what can happen in a very short period of time after man and his industrial, shall we say, endeavours actually cease operation. But yeah, a really nice little walk along this forest bit of the trail. So we've made it back to this actual bridleway sign, and right beside it is some cookers, and I think that's what they would have cooked the ore in to extract the minerals. But yeah, it's still here. But what we're going to do is go past this old, well, it's a waterworks, and we're going to make our way up this particular lane here, and it should take us back to Cowstock. The lane I'm walking on now just runs alongside the marsh on the opposite side of that original towpath that we were walking on. So I've got the views in reverse looking out towards the Tamar now. But yeah, this is a very nice and pleasant walk. I've met loads of dog walkers and people out walking, and I guess because it's in a relatively built up and well known area, you have to expect that. But in any case, it's still a very pleasant walk. So Cowstock has a load of very narrow, quiet side streets and roads, and it's really quaint. But yeah, it's time for us to go home. So I've just got to turn around and show you this. How about that? Here's the main pub. And we come back to where we started now, the children's play area. There's a really nice ice cream shop over there where we spend a lot of time and a lot of money buying ice creams we really don't need, but they are tasty. And just walk out onto the main docking pontoon, and you can see how big this river is. On high tides, well, pretty much like this, sometimes you will get holiday boats or tour boats that will come up from Saltash and Plymouth, and they will bring customers for a day out to this quaint little village. Well, I'm back to where I started, and I'm going to make my way home, and I hope you enjoyed a little walk in Cowstock, which is in Cornwall. And yeah, all that's left for me to say is have a very safe and happy New Year and Christmas, and I'll catch you again next year out on the trail.